Hey traders, this is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group, and this is your end of day video for Thursday, August 8th. Well, happy Thursday, full participation day today with SPYs. You could see finishing on the absolute highs of the day. Spectacular price action if you were long coming into the day or putting on some trades a little bit. But SPY finished just about up 2% for the day, up 1.96. Qs finished up a little bit higher than that, 2.2%. Small caps were right there too. They finished up over 2%. What else we got? And I'll go over gold and bonds in just a second. Here's the what I, we don't normally have days like this, so it's you kind of have to relish them. Just about everything participated to the upside, especially from the open, right? So again, I always look at this from the open, but here's your performance for the day. Interesting. Also, what came back too was gold and bonds. Bonds had a 30-year auction, I think it was today, which went a little bit better than yesterday's auction. Remember yesterday's auction, bond auction, that really was one of the catalysts for bonds to give back those gains. Remember, bonds were up like 2% yesterday, finished around flat. Well, today they were down again, kind of continuation from yesterday, but bond auction, I guess there was some decent demand for that and caused that group to go up. Gold, like I said, finished fine too, up 60 basis points. So it seems like these two areas, we'll just kind of keep an eye on because the dip seems to be being bought. Before I go on to more of the equities, but here's your best performers from open to close. Very, very strong. Metals and mining. Again, look at the gold miners, up 2.3%. So they were no slouch today. Software was strong all day. Again, the gold miners opened up in the red, so they did finish up 1.7%. But the software names were really strong. They finished up 3.2%. I also have another software ETF on my list. It's XSW, X-Ray Sam White. That is the equally weighted software ETF. That was up almost 3.4%. Also, not on this list is the IBD 50 ETF. So a lot of growth. When I see that name on the, the leaderboard, usually that's pretty good for growth, right? So up 3%. XOP had some continuation today from getting that bounce yesterday. That was also amongst the leaders. Cyber stocks did well today. So again, the list you could see pretty much a full participation day. Well, again, I don't want to say that we're not going to get that tomorrow or what's going to happen tomorrow, but it seems to be pretty rare when we get these full participation days. So I think this was pretty good. The FANG stocks all did pretty well today. You could see you could have, I guess, picked any one of these. After the open, they were very close to one another. Actually, Facebook looked like that outperformed from the open. For the whole day, it looks like Netflix outperformed. Of course, Roku was up 20%, managed to increase up 2%. Snap, which saw some nice call buying today, had a real nice move today. Software names, you could see, as I mentioned, some names really did well. Twilio had a big day today, up 6%. It seems like the more beaten down some of the names were, the higher they went. Maybe not Shopify. Shopify just continues to go up. But this MDB was a name that got kind of beaten up too. TTG rallied into the earnings report, which I think that name is down a little bit after hours, but and so on and so forth. So let me go through again. Here's what the S&P chart looks like. Where it really gets interesting is when you start looking at the older time frames. How I normally manage this kind of thing during the day is when we start the day above value, you've got your support kind of baked in. Notice, by the way, I changed my settings around for the Market Webs indicator, just a little bit different colors and maybe a little bit easier to follow. But look at what. So notice that I've got a couple dotted lines in here. So the gray dotted lines are from just other time frames. So for example, this dotted line down here is your main support for the year. And you can see that on the weekly chart. You'll see where that lines up. Really interesting weekly weekly bar developing. I mentioned that this was looking like some type of a hammer bar, but wow, there's hardly any body to this. So we've pretty much come back to where we started for the week, which is again major move day to day, what we're experiencing on a day to day basis. So here's the other line that I have drawn in here, and I sent this chart out last night on the private Twitter feed. But I'm basically saying, if you want to be a fairly disciplined trader right now, then I would say 29.50. And if you're a little bit worried that we're going to hit overhead resistance, you could do things like you could sell some out of the money call spreads against your portfolio to hedge a little bit. But I think 29.50 for me is going to be the area, and we're darn near close to it. We're only about 10 handles away. But what is that, or where did I come up with that level, by the way? If you go to the 1 hour bar, that is the bottom of value, right? So we started below value, and like I said, we pretty much, this was the overnight move, I guess, on Sunday. But yeah, we're almost right back. So 29.50, I mean, that's really a nice measured move. By the way, look at that VPOC on the bottom of the screen. We've referenced that a couple times this week as the turnaround point in the overnight session on Monday. So yeah, so I mean, I think I would be just mindful about how you're trading. Some traders sometimes are adding at the wrong times. Adding when we're going up rather than. I think this market continues to be where the pickier and choosier you are, I think the better you are. Meaning kind of waiting for these dips and uptrends. And yeah, so I would be very mindful of that 29.50 level. If we can get above it, super. But I think kind of an area to kind of be mindful of that situation. So I wanted to spend some time on the S&P, Nasdaq, if you want to look at that too, and then we'll go over just a few charts for the day. Yeah, this has got a little bit further to go in Nasdaq. That's 7793, but we're damn near close. So you got the bounce, right? So now it's going to be a question of can we recoup even more from where we started to sell off? But I think we're going to be coming into resistance very shortly. All right, so that's my viewpoint. Few names that I like. We'll talk about just two of the big movers. AMD saw this big follow-through move. What a move for not even having earnings. Up 16%. A lot of traders in the room did really well with this today. But even you could have chased AMD today too and made money on it. So congrats. Amazon, I thought, was set up for a real nice move. I thought Amazon, by the way, yesterday, and I think I mentioned Amazon briefly yesterday, right when this thing looked like it was going to break down a bit and kind of turn even lower, right? Because if you look at the weekly bar, and again, I referenced this. I did reference Amazon in the video last night. But here's your kick save right at the top of value on the weekly chart. So again, bouncing a little bit. Where could we continue to go to in Amazon? Right about 1854 is where I see resistance again, and that's resistance for the week, by the way, just like with the S&P. So this is short-term resistance. Chewy is another name that I went long, just a small order, not huge, but Chewy had a real nice day, up 5%. And so what I did was sometimes when I'm in calls and I get the move that I'm looking for in calls, I actually jump out of calls and go into stock. This name does not have a lot of history. It hasn't really done that well since its IPO. But how I basically trade newer names when we don't have value areas yet is just to use the moving averages. And so I'm long some shares now at this point with a stop just below the two moving averages, right? And we'll see. It's tried to do this a couple times and failed. It failed here. It got above the short-term moving averages here as well, and you get a reversal bar. So we'll probably know pretty quickly if this is for real or not, even though there's not much volume really confirming it. But again, call buyers 2 days in a row in Chewy. Next stock that we saw call activity today. I'll just go over a few names that we saw call activity in. Team, I know this is a high flyer, but looks pretty good in terms of trying to go back to 52-week highs. So I made a little bit of money in this one today and still holding the residual position in this one. And then one last one that we'll go through, which another name that we saw call activity today, had some nice momentum to it. I'm coming back to the top of value. So I do like the kind of scoop here, meaning, had earnings, real strong, took out one of these VPOCs. So this is pretty easy, I think, to watch at this point. If you're not in this name, that's fine, because I would wait until you get above 1684, right? That's the top of value. And then your next, now that this one VPOC is taken out, you could shoot for this 1864, which is still a decent percentage move. So you can kind of wait until we close above 1684, and then you've got a version point of control, which I would use as your exit target if we do get above that value area. All right, so I'll leave it there. I think that's enough to cover for one day, but great day. And I'll see you guys back in the room bright and early tomorrow morning for Friday. We'll go from there. Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.